What's up, guys? We out here today. We're on the racetrack. Our racetrack is actually an old airport runway, as you can see behind me. It's about half a mile long, give or take. I'm out here with the Honda. I'm gonna be doing some pulls which I cannot do on the roads near my home because they're really windy. I have done a couple pulls thus far. Off the bat, the car did a 14.6 and that was at 90 miles an hour. I think I let off just before the quarter mile. After that, we trimmed out some fuel. We up to 97 miles an hour trap speed. So we're picking up horsepower. I haven't gotten a clean run thus far because I'm just doing some logs. So we're gonna be doing a couple more runs, and at the end of that, I'm gonna try to practice my 60 foot and hopefully put down a 14-second pass using the That Racing channel, the TRC racing app. I'll show you a couple clips of me, I believe, just tuning, trimming some fuel, and then we're going to move over to some more interesting videos. Stay tuned. So we have one of the runs here now. Come around, the camera will just focus. Okay, so you can see the wavy marks. First gear, second gear. After every gear shift, we see a boost spike. Up here, 204 kPa, or about 14.5 pounds of boost, and it settles back down to my target, which is about 190 kPa or 13 psi, right? And it's consistent after every gear change. So if we go back to the boost target, what I'm gonna do is see if I can do that with one hand. We're gonna lower duty cycle a bit here. Should lower boost, we shouldn't have that spike, and then we're gonna try it out. Hopefully that will calm down that spike we see after every gear change on the 5,000 RPM. just did a one run, didn't get it on camera. Just for that, share something with you. Spark plug reading 101. I'm not sure if the camera will focus so we can see this, but we can see the discoloration right at the bend of the plug. If it can just focus. It's not focusing. Hopefully you can see it through there, and we can see the discoloration on about 2 turns on the thread. It says the heat range is within spec of what we're doing. I wish this would just focus. We have a full turn of light soot on the plug. Yeah, so you can see it. So that's with about a 11.8 air-fuel ratio across the board, 13 pounds of boost, and we can see the discoloration right at the bend. So within, well, the plug is gapped to 18,000 if I recall correctly, so within the ballpark of where we need to be. Plugs are looking pretty good. No signs of aluminum, so we're not detonating. We're pretty good. Spark plug reading 101 if the camera would just focus. Alrighty guys, so it's the following day. I'm just about editing the video, so we're gonna finish off with just an analysis of the runs from yesterday. Okay, we have the Dart Racing Channel app open, and we started off the day with this pass 15.7 at 92, 2.860 foot, 75 miles an hour in the 1/8 mile, and 15.7 92. This pass started off with about bottom 10's air fuel ratio. We cleaned that up, and the next pass we ended up with a 14.6 at 90 miles an hour. 90 miles an hour because somewhere I think at the 1,000 foot, you can see here the dip here, I let off the throttle because the track was, I'm getting to the end of the track and there's a huge fence at the bottom of that, so that would have probably been somewhere in the 95 mile an hour range. All of this at that point, I was not playing with ignition at all, just trimming fuel, and the car seemed to be picking up miles an hour. For those of you may not know, it's an old-fashioned way of tuning when dynos are not so prevalent. You do quarter mile pulls, check your plugs and your trap speed. The higher the trap speed, the more horsepower you actually making. And then we had a couple more pulls, as you can see, 90, 96, 97 miles an hour. The car kept gaining more power. We ended up trimming a fair bit of fuel out of it, and this one was the highest trap speed I did for the day. Don't mind the 60 foot. As you saw from the videos, I wasn't really launching the car, plus it was on some all season tires, so we're not expecting any spectacular 60 foot times, but we had 98 miles an hour. Interestingly, with this run, quick analysis of a quarter mile pass. If you lower your 60 foot by okay, let me rephrase that. Every 10th you take off in your 60 foot, you lose 2 tenths in the quarter mile. So just some rough maths. If I take off a full second from the 60 foot here, and let's say we end up with a 2.0 60 foot, which is pretty easy to cut on some slicks, the car would end up with say about 2 seconds off the quarter mile. So it would be somewhere in the mid to low 13s, and trap speed indicates that we can run the mid to low 13s. with this current power level. And at some point I did a 1/8 mile pull. With lots of practicing, I did manage to cut a 2.160 foot on the street tires. Basically set the launch control to somewhere around 2500 rpm if I recall correctly, and we had a 9.4 1/8 mile. Quick maths, 9.4 usually multiplied by 1.55 to get a rough estimate of a 1/8 mile converted to a 1/4 mile pass. And I did a couple pulls, but all in all, I left it somewhat safe, I believe. Still has very little timing in it, and we at 98 miles an hour at 13 pounds of boost. So we still have some room to grow. There is a event coming up this weekend. I may race the car, I may raise the boost a bit, may try to trap in the 100 mile an hour, and if I end up on street tires, I may just aim for 14-second passes, a 14 flat. If I end up taking the slicks, may borrow my friend's slicks, some 24.5 inch slicks, I may try to go for at least a 13.5 or some low 13s. We'll see how that goes. So yes, so the trap speed indicate that we're making 98 miles an hour. It's roughly about 195 horsepower. If you punch that in some rough calculators, that's the answers you would get. 190 thereabout with the weight of the car. The car weighs about 2350 without me, and I weigh about 1800, so we're looking at about low 2500 pounds. Yep, yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up now. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe.